Hey guys, welcome back to Heroes of the Storm. Today I'm going to be talking about the newest hero. I'm going to be talking about Lieutenant Morales and how to play her. First off, I'm going to go over her abilities and her traits, and then I'm going to go into the build, and then I'm going to give you a few tips to play her the most effectively. So, she plays as a support. She's a support, and she plays as a support very differently from other healers. She only has one healing ability, which quite a lot of healers have these days, and that healing ability isn't a chunk of health instantly or a regrowth effect heal over time. What it is it's a continuous beam that as long as they stay in the range, you can see the circle indicated on the screen there, as long as once you throw that on them, they will start to receive 420 health a second, and they will continue to receive this heal as long as they stay within the range indicated. If they step out of the range indicated, you switch your target or activate your trait. This will cancel. If you retarget it, it will go on someone else who's in range, and if you activate your trait, it'll just straight up cancel it. You can also cast Q on yourself to cancel it as well. It doesn't mention that there, but you cannot use Healing Beam on yourself. You can only use Healing Beam on allies. So if you want to cancel it and you don't want to press your trait button, you can always just cast Q on yourself and that will cancel it. W is Safeguard, slightly longer range as you can see here. Throw it on an ally. You can throw this one on yourself, I believe. Yep, you can throw this one on yourself, and it means that you take 25% less damage for 3 seconds. Useful ability. Uses quite a lot of mana. The cooldown is quite substantial, but it does mean that you are going to take 25% less damage, so you can use it on the tank before they engage. And what I like to do is I like to use it as part of the healing rotation that you do, and I'll go into that slightly in a bit. But basically, you want to make sure you have this ability in your repertoire, and don't use it straight away. Use it as kind of a damage limitation as opposed to a damage prevention mechanic, which is what a lot of people throw on early, and I think that's the wrong thing to do. And she has E. This will be her peel or her escape move. Basically what this does is it fires, actually I'll position it so you can see it, is it fires a grenade in a line, and the first enemy, this is a minion, hero, summon, anything like that, it will explode, or when it reaches the end of its duration, the end of its length, it will explode, and it knocks every enemy away. As a result of this, you can do crazy, amazing shots and throw it behind a hero and then knock them back this way, or you can throw it at a hero and knock them straight back while you escape. It doesn't trigger off of allies, so you can throw it, and you cannot manually detonate it, so it has to hit something. It doesn't do that much damage, so don't use it to poke. As I say, I'll give you some tips in a minute, but just beware it should only be used as either an incredibly low finishing move when you're the only person who have it, like 1 HP finishing move, or as an escape move. Her trait is very interesting. It means that after 4 seconds of not taking damage, you can be in combat while doing this. You can have someone trying to chase you or doing all kinds of crazy things. As long as they are inflicting no damage, you will start to regenerate 3% of your health, maximum health, every second. So that's quite a substantial amount. It's kind of like Muradin's Second Wind, but it will just come in a lot quicker, and it's a lot more effective in my opinion because of the way you play this character. You shouldn't really be taking too much damage anyway. So, let's go over the build. The build is somewhat up to debate, it's up to change. You can kind of spread your wings a little bit and do what you really want, but there is definitely specific go-to talents that you should definitely look at taking above other talents unless you're in a very specific situation. So at level 1, the go-to talent is going to be Trauma Trigger. While Lieutenant Morales does have mana problems, and that does make feedback look quite appealing, Trauma Trigger is just very good because it makes it surprisingly difficult to poke you out and to deal with you when you're in a lane situation or when you're in a team fight. It just means that it's actually quite difficult to kill you. So Trauma Trigger is going to be a very good talent to pick at level 1. At level 4, you can take Bioshield. The problem with Bioshield is it wears away instantly. It doesn't degrade as you would expect it to. As a result of this, it's actually really hard to throw it on someone and keep the shield on them while healing everyone else to the maximum potential. And as a result of trying to do this, you'll find yourself running out of mana quite a lot just trying to get the shield up on someone. So what I like to go with is I like to go with Advanced Block. This again works with your tier 1 talent, and it means it's actually surprisingly difficult to kill you, and it's basically the exact same as Block is, but it stores up to 3 charges as opposed to up to 2. Obviously, this is more effective if you have an enemy team, which is Reyna, Falstad, Valor, very auto-attack heavy heroes. Think of having people like Thrall and Kerrigan and Illidan in there as well. Even people like Nova, you'll be surprised how effective Block is against them, Sergeant Hammer. So it's a very good move, and if you are in doubt, I would say take Advanced Block. And if you're duo queuing with someone, you might be able to get away with Bioshield, but Advanced Block is probably going to be your go-to talent on this tier, while the other 2 talents don't really do enough. They upgrade your grenade, which is nice, but you only want to be using your grenade as escape, and so increasing the speed and damage isn't that useful at all. So Advanced Block is quite nice. At level 7, it's kind of, again, at this point is the point where you can really start making the build your own. Don't look at clear. I know 33% faster sounds amazing, but as I say, it's normally enough anyway, and you want to upgrade your abilities or start adding utility into your build at this tier. So irradiate means that everyone around your healing beam's target takes damage. Basically, whenever you throw a healing beam on someone, they gain a lesser effective burning rage. Very, very effective, especially if you're running out of damage, or if you just want to get some poke damage off in the early game. And if you're playing with someone who doesn't have that much damage, a team that has bruisers or something, or people that are going to need healing, continuous healing for quite a lot, and are going to be in the fight for quite a while, this is people like Sonya, people like Illidan, you'd be surprised how useful this can be. So don't be afraid to take this one. And yeah, if you think that you're going to be healing someone for a lot of the time who's going to have a lot of enemies around them, take Irradiate. And if you are in doubt, take Irradiate. It's never a bad talent to pick, but please remember that don't worry about clear, but please take a look at both of these talents. There's Mule. If you've played any support before, you'll know how effective Mule can be. It can repair your structures and save your fort, and that can save your experience lead or develop an experience lead if you deny forts from your opponents. And Cleanse is obviously very good if they have a very CC heavy team. You can just run in, throw Cleanse up on someone. If they have someone like a Murky with Octograb or anyone who has an ult that results in a stun, you can save 1 or 2 people's lives, and it has a very low cooldown. So always be aware that you have these 2 abilities if you think you need them, but always take Irradiate if you are in doubt. At level 10, this is where things get fun. You can take Medevac Dropship if you want to have fun and if you want to like jump about all over the map. If you have coordination in your team, if you're a 2, 3, 4 or 5 stack, don't be afraid to take Medevac Dropship. It will be very good fun, and you can get the surprise advantage, and just allowing your team to just arrive at some area of the map will be incredibly, incredibly strong. And because it has a 50-second cooldown, it doesn't actually have a 50-second cooldown because it takes 10 seconds for it to go, so it actually has close to a 40-second cooldown, and by the time you arrive, it feels like a lot shorter than 50 seconds, let me tell you. So that's how the Medevac Dropship works. It's a very good talent, but I wouldn't pick it in solo queue. If you are in solo queue, look at getting Stim Drone. Now, Stim Drone gives allied heroes attack speed and movement speed. As a result, it works incredibly well on attack-based heroes who require positioning advantages. Basically, I'm looking at Reyna here. Reyna with this buff on just really, really starts to destroy people. It feels like you're cheating, I've heard people say. You just attack so fast. If you have Giant Killer up, you melt a tank in about a second. There's nothing they can do to stop you. And the movement speed means it's incredibly difficult for people to get away from you, and the positioning advantage is just incredibly good. It does work well on heroes such as Nova and Zeratul, which a lot of people don't really estimate, because Nova has such a slow attack speed. The fact that you can give her 75% means she can attack 75% more often. That is a surprising amount on Nova, and considering her auto attacks hit so hard, it really ups her damage quite a lot. Same with Zeratul. If he can stay in the fight and get 3 or 4 autos off as opposed to 1 or 2, he can deal a lot more damage. Illidan as well works well on this. It's almost impossible to get away from Illidan anyway. With 75% attack speed and 25% movement speed, it makes it almost impossible to get away from him entirely, and he's really going to start hitting you really, really hard. 90-second cooldown. So it does have quite a lot of cooldown. The mana cost as well is quite substantial. It's 100. But one of the things that a lot of people don't realise is this has a cast time on it. It has a cast time of about a second, and when I pick it, you'll see the cast range on it. It's surprisingly small. So as a result, you need to be close to that hero, and then when it starts casting on them, it's very obvious that it's being casted. A noise is played out, similar to Mosh Pit, and then the hero who has the Stim Drone on them starts glowing blue. So as a result, they can just be bursted down afterwards, because it doesn't give any form of survivability, it just gives damage. But if you're playing really, really well and you're using it, what should happen, if you put it on the right hero, is they should be able to kill at least 2 people before they die themselves, especially if you have team working around it. So I would say Stim Drone's probably the go-to if you have solo queue, particularly if you have someone who can really take advantage of it. Again, people like Reyna, Valor, Falstad, Illidan, Nova, Zeratul, even some tanks can deal a surprising amount of damage with it on them. Just there's loads and loads of really good stuff there. So at level 13, you can kind of get away with either of these 2. I like Preventative Care, but again, if you're taking that, you probably... like, attack speed isn't going to be that big of a deal. It's only going to be a big deal against someone. It's not that much. It's only 25%. It's only 2.5 seconds, so I'm not too amazed by this. Spell Shield is good, but because of the way Lieutenant Morales works, if you're getting poked, you're going to have to retreat or you're going to die anyway. So Spell Shield, while it means you're less likely to die, doesn't mean you're going to be more effective in a fight, which is really what you're looking to improve here at level 13. So what I like is I like intensive care. If you're playing Lieutenant Morales to the best of her abilities, she shouldn't be taking any damage at all. And it means that if you throw the beam on someone, especially if there's someone who's they're just desperately trying to kill, it just becomes more and more difficult to kill them. And when you're healing people up, it means that you can heal them up so incredibly quickly. It's just really, really, really good. If you have a team that has high health pools, or a team that again is just suffering loads of poke damage, intensive care is incredibly good. If you have someone who can hard engage but doesn't necessarily have the backup initially, people again like Sonya and Tyrell, you can throw intensive care on them, and then when they jump away, they can get a couple more ticks off it, and then when you come back into the fight, while they're being targeted down, which they will be being targeted down, intensive care will just keep them up at max. If you have a team that duels as well, intensive care is incredibly good. 1v1s around the map, if you can appear at them, again, you can combine this with medevac dropship, and you can send just yourself over, land on them, throw intensive care up, and then all of a sudden they just die. Very, very good. If you are suffering poke damage, or you're suffering a surprising amount of damage just overall, don't be afraid to take couples therapy. The problem with couples therapy is it's only 25% of the healing amount, so it's really not that much on you, but you can take it. I find that couples therapy is very good in ARAM, in ARAM, in all random, all mid mode. Just a little random tidbit there, just because it means that you get heals, and it means that it's actually surprisingly mana efficient because you're healing 2 people for only a little bit more mana. But in a normal game situation, you're probably going to want to go with intensive care 90% of the time. At level 16, things get slightly different. Now, again, the grenades aren't going to be your best ability here, so you're going to want to not use either of these, even though the slow looks very good. I've seen a lot of people take second opinion, don't like it. I think it's really, really bad, just because it has a second charge. If you miss them with the first charge and then hit them with the second charge, you're probably going to die anyway, because they've been able to gain that much ground on you, and you shouldn't need 2 charges. 1 charge and 1 knockback should be enough if you hit it to get away. So the one you're going to want to take is either Inoculation or Sealed Sequencer. Now, it's kind of obvious how this works. If one person is taking damage, if one tank is engaging super hard and they're bursting down a single target, you're going to want to take Inoculation. If there's 2 people that are taking damage, if their focus isn't on point, or they've just got the damage to take out 2 people, you can cast it on. You take Sealed Sequencer to cast it on 2 people. And what this means, either of these talents mean, is that you can start getting the healing rotation down. Now, I'll talk about this more before I go on to level 20. So the healing rotation is you cast Q on someone who's at low health, and then you heal them up to about 60%. Now, this is what you should be doing all game. Almost everyone in the game who takes damage has some form of healing themselves up. If you look at people like James Rayner, if you look at, I say James Rayner, just Rayner. Reyna has a way, Illidan has a way, Sonya has a way. A lot of the tanks have a way of self-healing. In fact, that's probably what they do best, is self-healing, apart from just being a body that you can't kill. They're incredibly good at doing this, and a lot of people have ways of healing themselves up, as well as just passive regen ticks. So what I would say is heal tanks up to about 60%, heal supports up to about 60%, and heal assassins and specialists who can't heal themselves. Again, ignore people like Murky and Abathar, because there's no point in healing them ever unless you know you can keep them alive. Even then, with Murky, it's probably not worth it. And so with assassins and specialists, heal them up to about 80%. The reason I say this is because the last 20%, it's not going to keep any of them alive for that much longer. So warriors, while they're at 60% health, they can get the value of the self-heal up, and they can start using it, and they can actually be surprisingly difficult to kill, because they can heal themselves, as opposed to taking damage before they start healing themselves, and all kinds of good stuff. And it's still an intimidating enough health bar that the enemy team aren't just going to jump on them. But with assassins, they don't have this. But it means that your mana's kept surprisingly high, and if you keep doing this, you'll find that you really don't have a problem running out with mana during any team fight. And basically, the way you should do it is you should be healing someone up, and then when you see anyone taking damage, even if that damage is just auto attacks from Reyna, and you see people running towards them, cast Safeguard on them. It can act kind of as healing 2 targets at once. And if you take this Sealed Sequencer, it means that you can have Q on someone and W on 2 other members of your team. That means that one person's going to be getting the benefit of intensive care, 2 people are going to be gaining the benefit of Safeguard. If you're damaged below 50% health, you're going to be gaining the benefit of Safeguard, and you can knock people away, and you can stim the last person. So she can heal or prevent damage to everyone on her team at once, which is what a lot of people don't really anticipate. Obviously, the stim doesn't directly prevent damage, but it means that person can run away quicker. Coupled with the grenade creating space, she can do a load for her team. So you really want to make sure if it's focus target on 1 person, take Inoculation. If it's damage on 2 people or more people, take Shield Sequencer. Again, most of the time I take Inoculation, because if your team's playing well, it should only really be be the way to... You should only really be using it on one person, because everyone else in your team should be kind of back and not taking damage, or should be kiting away. And then even then, if it's, you can throw it on the healer, and then if you have an assassin who's been jumped on by Illidan and is running towards you, you can cast it on him, and then before you know, Illidan's overextended and you can blow him up. Now, at level 20, the only good talent here is Caduceus Reactor. Yeah, it means that it's incredible. It means that whenever you don't take damage, you're gaining loads of mana, and that is a lot of mana that you're gaining. And it's just so ridiculously strong. It means that you never run out of mana. And when Lieutenant Morales doesn't run out of mana and she has a ridiculous shield on her, if you get to level 20, the chances are you're not going to be able to deal with Lieutenant Morales. Job done, really. So yeah, that's the way it works. So when you're playing Lieutenant Morales in the early game, you need to really follow what I said and don't heal people above that health. You cannot be alone in lane. Like, make sure that before the game, in the lobby, and then at the start of the game, make sure that people are aware that you can't be alone in lane, that you need help. Don't do what I just did. Don't use the grenade to just damage people. Only use the grenade to create space. If you have someone on your team in lane with you, heal them up to the desired amount, and then don't be afraid to use W on them when they're going a little bit hard. And don't be afraid to start doing some ganks, because of the pseudo damage that Lieutenant Morales provides. You can kill people surprisingly effectively. When you go into the mid game, you want to have your healing beam up on the person taking damage, or the person who's going to take damage a lot, and then basically use your W to cast it on the person who then subsequently takes damage afterwards. Because normally after they realise that the person that they want to kill can't be killed, they'll normally go and switch to someone else, and that's who you want to throw a safeguard on. And you want to start using your displacement grenade to peel a little bit, or to peel for yourself. And at the end of a fight, or during the fight, or whenever, you want to cast Stim Drone on the DPS doing the most damage, or who has the potential to deal the most damage. Towards the late game, keep doing what you're doing, but just play it a little bit more safe. As you get into the late game, as people's power spikes start come through, people like Kerrigan and Nova, they will look to blow you up. So you really need to start playing passive, start playing defensively, and saving your displacement grenade and your safeguard to using yourself, and don't be afraid to just stick with someone the whole time. When Lieutenant Morales is with one person, she plays like a lot of supports, which is her with one person is more powerful than her. It's more powerful than that person that you've got with you than with anyone else, apart from maybe Uther. But that's because Uther's crazy good as well. So that's the way you play Lieutenant Morales. Give her a go. She's crazy fun. She's still available on the bundle. She's the new hero. Artanis comes out in about a week. I'm going to be doing a similar video on him, just giving you a short little guide on how to play him. Yeah, that's it really. I have been Mr. G. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.